I am Dracula.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Graveyard Club podcast. Today we're back to talk about more mummy movies. Last week, if you're with us, we were talking about The Mummy's Hand. And this week we're going to continue on with the direct sequel, The Mummy's Tomb from 1942.
Spawned from the depths of doom comes the most fearful monster of the ages, to strike with paralyzing terror the despoilers of ancient tombs. Here is new horror by the master of menace, Lon Chaney as the Mummy, with Dick Foran, John Hubbard, Elise Knox, George Zuko, Wallace Ford, Turon Bay in The Mummy's Tomb.
Directed by Harold Young, starring Dick Foran, John Hubbard, Elise Knox, George Zuko, Babe Henson, Wallace Ford, who actually plays Babe Henson, forgive me, and Turon Bay. We've a few returning actors. We'll go into it when we're talking about the plot. But anyway, today, joining me on the panel, we have Chris, a.k.a. Mr. C. How are you doing, man?
As I was saying just before we went live, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm ready to rip off my bandages and get into the Mummy Mayhem.
Good to have you here, man. Also joining us is Bryan. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks you.
Thanks for being here, bro. And also from last week, we have Zontarr. How's things, man?
Good.
It's basically the same cast as last week, so we're going to continue on. As you may know, there's a new Mummy movie coming out in April, so we decided it'd be a good idea to go through all the classic Mummy movies, starting with the Universal and maybe leading into the Hammer movies. But so I did from watching the movie last week, The Mummy's Hand. I didn't know if any of these Mummy movies had any continuity in them. So funny enough, when I stuck this on, it's a direct sequel to The Mummy's Tomb, to The Mummy's Hand. Also, what's different about this one, we have Lon Chaney playing Kharis, so we have a different mummy in this one. We'll talk a little bit more about Lon Chaney later on. But yeah, just first opinions on this, Bryan. What do you think about this movie?
Well, it's the first mummy film to have been set outside of Egypt, going back to what I remember of the Jewel of Seven Stars, and it's been a long time since I've read it. I don't recall that book being in Egypt either, so it's not like this is entirely new territory, and it's not like a later films set entirely outside of the titular mummy's place of origin are really that alien or different, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
That out there.
Yeah, what is different to this one, to the previous two that we've just reviewed, it's not set in Egypt. Kharis goes on a bit of a vacation in this movie, which is quite fun to see. We'll get into a bit more about the setting as we get into the plot. Chris, what's your thoughts on this movie?
Well, to hear you say vacation, that just jumped my head real quick to Weekend at Bernie's. You got another dead body carting around. But so here we are, the third Mummy movie in its series and the third actor to come in. So I'll say there is a greater gap between the first Mummy and less of a gap between the second and third, and just as far as the plot, as far as the aspirations of the director, as far as the utilization of the Mummy character. So this one again is squarely, solidly in B movie country, and I did have an enjoyment checking it out.
What did you take of this one, Zontarr, before we get in?
Gosh, I think it's a step down from the previous one, but it's still fun. The framing device of it being 30 years later, it's just really a right choice.
Interesting that you say that, man. It's not as good as the last one. When I finished this movie earlier on, I don't know. I know it was moving away from any sort of like Egyptian like setting, but I don't know, man. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I actually really enjoyed the new Mummy played by Lon Chaney. What did you just think about the design of Lon Chaney in the bandages? Like I feel like it's a little bit more severe than the previous design. I feel like this mummy, like as people know who've watched this movie, it's set 30 years after The Mummy's Hand. So a lot of the actors,
in 1970, I guess.
Yeah, and if you watch the movie, he made no effort at all to like make it a little bit futuristic or anything like that. Like it literally looks like we're back in the 40s, which is funny.
So if anyone's if anyone's expecting Kharis to fight a robot, you're going to be very disappointed.
Not that sort of movie. Bryan, what did you think of the design of the mummy in this one?
It looks very nice. I like the one-eyed look. It's been replicated many times. I actually have a Mega Bloks figure from that I got back in high school because I was such a mummy fan. And surprisingly, it is one-eyed. And doing research of some toys of my childhood, what you could say a childhood I missed in some ways. Fisher-Price with their Great Adventures series had an ancient Egyptian themed line, and the Mummy King was also one-eyed.
Interesting.
But if you were to press down on the statue on the action figure's back, the mask would fly off, shoot off, however you want to put it, and you'd have both eyes.
So who knows? It might have been. Go ahead.
It would have been a skull, but it's actually a skull face underneath. So
who knows? That could have been inspired by the mummy's tomb. Chris, what did you think of the design in this one? Because there is a little bit of difference between this one and the previous movie, design wise. What did you think?
Now, if I shouldn't be surprised by this question, but if I had more specifically anticipated this question, I might have done a side by side printout of their outfits. I'll say this: the actual mummy outfit, the actual costume, looks worse for the wear, and to give them credit, that was a step towards keeping a continuity. So from the second movie. With Tom Tyler, right? He met a fiery demise at the end. So now here we are 30 years later, and the bandages are supposed to show, if I'm getting it right, the bandages are supposed to show that this guy had literally walked through the fire. Now so that's like within the lore, if you will. As far as the actual suit, Lon Chaney was not a bashful actor of his era, so he definitely made it known that he didn't care for the process of getting the suit on or being in the suit and all that. So I wonder what his facial expressions were beneath the Jack Pierce work on his face. Probably looking a little disgruntled.
Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
I read after watching the movie. I read, I picked up my big Universal Studios Monsters book, and for the Mummy's Tomb, it's in the Mummy section. It specifically said that Kharis might have. I can't remember if it was exactly his least favorite one or it might have been his least favorite one, but I can't believe it.
It was Lon Chaney's least favorite role.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen that too.
Yeah, because he's coming fresh off of Wolfman, and did he do another one before this one? Another Universal?
Ghost of Frankenstein, I believe, where he was the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, so coming off them two movies, he probably wasn't too chuffed to be wrapped up. But I suppose he did become the iconic mummy, I suppose. But we'll talk a little bit more about Lon Chaney because he was a very interesting character. Zontarr, what did you think of the design of this one?
Yeah, I'll go better. It's convenient with the mummy that it's like, say, the Godzilla movies. The suit, deteriorates, they have to replace it. This one, if the suit deteriorates, it makes it better. Oh, it's like, the mummy suit looks worse this time? Oh, it's fine. It's supposed to look worse.
Yeah.
It could deteriorate. But yeah, I prefer this.
Yeah, it looks like Kharis hasn't got a wink of sleep in the 30 years that he's been resting. So it does. It follows with the continuity. I want to talk a little bit about the cast. Obviously, we have Dick Foran returning as Stephen Bannon. Now, he's a lot older in this movie. We have a son in this one. John Bannon, played by John Hubbard. Alicia Knox plays Isabel Evans, which is John's wife. George Zucco returns as Indohep, again a lot older, so he kind of takes the role of the previous high priest in the previous movie. Babe Henson, played by Wallace Ford. Now, what I found interesting, if you read the credits between this movie and the last movie, Wallace Ford is credited in this movie as Babe Henson, but the last movie, his name is Babe Jensen. So, don't know if anyone else caught that.
It's a random change of name, and I don't know, it's hardly the first time you're going to find that in fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going into a bit of Greek mythology here, but if anyone's familiar with Iphigenia, who Agamemnon was forced to sacrifice just to get fair rent so the Greek army could sail to Troy, earlier cases make reference to an Ephianassa, so name changes like this are just
most common enough.
Old as Kharis, I'd probably say, if you don't forgive the joke.
True, man. And then we have Torban Bey playing Muhammad Bey in this one. So he's basically takes on the role of Imhotep in the last movie. He's like the new priest that's basically taking control of Kharis, and he's basically his boss, his master in this movie. And then of course we have Lon Chaney as Kharis. So yeah, when we get into the plot, like, it's weird to see these characters aged up dramatically, like from the 30 years, because as you remember from the last one, In the Mummy's Hand, Steve Bannon and Babe Jensen are kind of like a comedy duo. They're a lot of fun in that last movie. In this movie, they're completely different characters, which is good to see though, because Wallace Ford was a great actor, so he's almost playing two different roles in these movies. He's not the same character as he was in the previous movie. Although I know it's 30 years in the future, but still completely different characters he plays in these two movies. I'll get into the plot. So like the movie begins with a scene. We're with Steve Bannon. He's with his family, and he's basically telling the story of what happened in the previous movie. So that kind of acts as a flashback, and we get some footage from the last movie. I've noticed some things here and there are cut in. It's not complete copy and paste from the movie. They did cut up a couple of scenes to make it go a little bit quicker. But this like flashback basically takes up the first like 10-11 minutes of the movie, which is quite crazy for a movie that only goes on for 60 minutes. But what I was thinking, obviously in the 1940s there was no DVDs, there was no way of replaying the movies that you saw in the theatre at the time. So I suppose a lot of movies at the time were done these little flashbacks to keep people up to speed. So that does make sense. So obviously he told them that he tells his family that he brought back Ananka. Kharis disappeared. I suppose it keeps you up with the story. Now Peggy Moran is not in this movie, so I'm not sure what happened. I supposedly Martha maybe is dead. You see a picture in the start of the movie. I'm not sure. I don't think it goes into too much about Martha in this movie, does it?
No, I've always taken it to mean she died, which, well, good for her, I guess, because then we don't have to see her die at Kharis's hands.
Yeah, it would have been another body for Kharis anyway, because Kharis, as we're going to talk about now, Kharis just goes on a killing spree. This kind of, like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that really remind me of, like, 80s slashers. It's cool to see. That's, like, it's different to the last movie, and it tries something a little bit different. Yeah, we'll talk more about it. So Indohep survives as well from the previous movie, and now he's a lot older, and he looks like the same actor who was the high priest in the last one. He's aged a lot. He has the same shakes as the high priest in the last movie. So it's 30 years later. So we find out it's 30 years later. New priest Muhammad Bey is now in charge of Kharis, who also survived, and they both plan to take revenge on the archaeologist who disturbed them and his Princess Ananka 30 years ago. Am I right in saying that this movie is based in Massachusetts?
I think so.
Yeah, because they don't really go into it too much about exactly where it is, but I'm assuming it's Massachusetts because that's where Steve Bannon is from. Muhammad and Kharis take a cargo ship. Kharis is locked up in a crate. It's actually quite funny. And the two set up in a cemetery. Muhammad Bey takes on the role as the caretaker then, so the two of them are based now in this graveyard cemetery. Quite reminiscent to like the Wolfman, the Frankenstein movies and all this type of stuff. So again, it's the vibe of this movie has already changed from the previous one. Like, there's no Egyptian influence like flowing through it. It's definitely more like a traditional Universal monster movie. What do you think about that? Like, about like the
as I said before, this does have literary precedence. I don't remember the June of Seven Stars actually being set in Egypt, and that is what you'd call a mummy story. That's one of the Hammer films even being an adaptation of that same book. So a bit different, Lone, because it's not an Egyptian cultist basically bringing his mummy henchman to Massachusetts rather than a house full of Egyptian artifacts. So it's different, but at the same time, it's not without any predecessors.
True. Like, that is very true. What got me about this film is how quickly they killed off the main characters from the last previous movie. So straight away, Kharis is getting sent out to kill Steve Bannon. So this is kind of the whole plot of the movie. It's about Kharis going out, catching a few bodies, coming back to rest, and then going back out again. So Steve Bannon pretty much dies within maybe about 15-20 minutes of the movie. One of the biggest characters in the last one dies off the quickest in this movie, which is quite like a bit jarring at the start. I'll be honest. Like, I was like, "Fuck me, what?" Like, I didn't know what to expect then. Because I thought maybe it would have been a little bit more about Steve Bannon, but obviously, as we're going to talk a little bit more about the plot, it's more about the son.
Imagine if that was how the Mummy Returns opened, with Imhotep returning and just killing Rick O'Connell.
Yeah, it'd be a completely different movie, man. So the police get involved and they start to investigate the murder, but they're also receiving calls about people seeing like a shadow going by their house. I want to talk about the scene I said earlier about this movie kind of reminding me of like 80s slashers, is when Kharis goes by the couple in the car that are kissing. I don't know, that just gave me Friday the 13th kind of Halloween vibes. Does anyone else get vibes like that? I'm not saying.
I've never actually seen any of the Friday the 13th films, but it does feel like a very early version of a slasher film, probably even surpassing Psycho in that regard.
A couple make me on the car and pull a monster. It becomes a trope, over and over again, especially in 50s type. There's a bunch of originals talking about various other ones where it's like, oh, this stuff is blown up. Even there's couples making out in the car and a monster goes by. This might be the first instance. He doesn't attack, he goes by.
Yeah, I'll go in the same way that Creature of the Black Lagoon was influential on Jaws. I'll say, right, that the next generation of horror filmmakers were obviously, having it in their DNA to watch the original round of these classics. So, I'll say that was a through line from the older times to the more recent times.
Oh, and the book Psycho was actually published 17 years later, so definitely something to think about.
Also, the old couple calls into the police and say they see a monster and they get laughed at. And that's yet another trope you see time and time again. Usually the teenagers, again, the Blob, various other 50s movies do that. Hey, we saw a monster, they call the police and the police laugh. This might be the first instance of it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of any other Universal or even any movies from the 30s and 40s that has just a mindless killer going out and taking names. This could be the first one. Kharis gets sent back out again. This time he's taking two more of the Bannon household, and then this is where we see Babe Henson come in. And again, he's aged up. He has a glass hanging off his eye. He's a hat. What did you think of Wallace Ford performance in this one? It's completely different to what you've done in the last one.
Yeah, you have to imagine what 30 years has been like for Babe. I mean, clearly people change as they get older, but in what seems to be a world where World War II is apparently lasting until 1970, you have to imagine just what his mindset might be.
True, and It just shows you how much of a range the actor had, though, as well.
Yeah, and I'd say that, as go the lead actors, so went the rest of the tone of the movie. It's definitely less jokey. The comedy is reduced. I didn't keep an actual tally, but it seems like the kill count is up. So, to take the lead out, or the lead from the previous movie out so early, that it sets the tone that nobody's safe. Anybody could meet their demise.
Yeah, it closer in tone to the original Karloff film, which a bit darker than the previous Universal horror films, and yeah, it's just interesting to think about, and that's kind of the way mummy films have been. Sometimes you get dark stuff, sometimes you get light stuff. And in recent decades, we of course had the Brendan Fraser films for the light, and the recent Tom Cruise film for the dark, and we're going to be returning to the dark again with the new film in April. Sorry if that's
That's coming. John tells the police. Oh, sorry. Babe tells John about the story about the mummy, like how he thinks it was the mummy who killed Steve, and he also goes to the police. Nobody believes him at the time. He goes to a bar, has a drink, has a little cigar, and he talks to one of the local punters about the mummy and what's happening, and how he reckons Kharis is actually doing the killing. And while that is happening, who else is in the bar? Mohammed Bey. He hears the whole fucking thing. And unfortunately, this is coming up to the end of Babe now. So people are getting informed that Kharis is kind of out on the loose. Kharis catches Babe down in a dead end, kind of like an alleyway kind of sort of thing, outside like the bar that you're in. And just dies embarrassingly. Babe's trying to climb over a wall, and Kharis comes down and strangles him to death. So there's the two main characters gone from the first film. Just like that. I know, as Bryan was saying, this is kind of how things go. It was kind of sad to see them characters go so quick in this movie. Am I on my own here, or?
Yeah. Watching it as a teenager, I was not expecting that, because the first mummy films I ever saw were the original Karloff film and Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So I could not for the life of me imagine, like killing off the main characters in the sequel.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking, what are the other sequels going to be like? Well, we'll get into them as we go. Chris, what did you think of them killing off the two main guys from the last movie?
Yeah, there's this, like, is this really happening? Is it, what am I looking at? And then you figure after the first one goes, you think the second one will maybe make it to the, to the final third or to the final minutes of the movie. But then, so it was a clever, well-structured zigzag. I want to be careful when there's the talk of subverting expectations, but this definitely maybe it did that, maybe it didn't, but it definitely it was a wake up call. Hey, you keep watching this movie because you never know what's about to come.
Like I don't mind the little twists and turns. I just felt like even Babe Henson's death was a little bit cheap. I thought like he got introduced kind of just to get killed off. I thought we would have had a bit more with them.
There's a brief bit with him in the car where he's figuring it out. Almost feels like like there's a second of like turning him into a Van Helsing character.
Yes, yes.
Old wise guy, and he's going to figure it out. He's like, I figured out the mystery, and then he goes to the bar. He's like, oh, he's going to be, important for the rest of the film. He's figuring it out, and then he's gone. Like,
yeah, man, they could have done something really, really interesting with his character. You're dead right, because he's the only one that's a believer in what's happening with the mummy. Van Helsing kind of vibe off him. Yeah, that is spot on, Zontarr. Yeah, just a little. That if it was to nitpick, maybe that was a little bit disappointing. Like that could have been a cool introduction for him to kind of save the day, and maybe we would have had out of the two previous casts, like maybe him surviving. So John Bannon finds a piece of fabric attached to a bush, and he brings it to a scientist examiner. to get some background on it. And John and the detectives are basically told it's from a 3,000-year-old mummy. But there was a lot of non-believers. The police wasn't believing Babe. There wasn't many people believing in the mummy story. So obviously, you know now, Mohammed Bey orders Kharis to bring back Isabel, this time alive, because he knows that her and John are meant to be married. Kharis somehow climbs into the house and takes her. And meanwhile, while this is all happening, the police and the townsmen are all rounding up numbers to go after the mummy. And this kind of leads to the ending. Now, the ending scene, I think, is much better in this movie than it was in the previous movie. I have no problem what they've done with the end of the mummy's tomb. Oh, sorry, the mummy's hand. But this one, the mummy's tomb, I just think it was a lot more, like, it was more classical universal. Like, there was a mob chasing after the monster. I enjoyed this a lot more. There was a bit more tension. There was a bit more build-up. So Kharis was on the loose with Isabel. Mohammed Bey gets shot and killed by one of the townsmen in the cemetery, which is a great scene. They end up cornering Kharis in a house. He starts throwing up fucking sticks lit on fire while he still has Isabel in his hands. I don't know what they were thinking there. They end up burning down the house with Kharis in it. Like, Chris, what did you think of that, man? Like, he still has Isabel in her hands, in his hands, and they're lighting the house on fire.
Questionable choices on the part of the angry mob, but I mean, I don't know. Was that supposed to show angry mobs, have a lower intelligence than a non-angry and non-mob situation? Maybe it was a social commentary, but it was, or maybe it was just trying to have again create discomfort in the audience. Like, oh no, don't let her get hurt.
Yeah.
She don't let, so,
yeah, it's a bit like Frankenstein when the monster has Henry, and well, they're in damn it, what's it called? The windmill, yes, they're in the windmill. Why are you Henry's in the windmill with that thing? Why are you trying to kill one of your own?
Like, John Bannon is down outside the house watching the angry mob light the house on fire, while the mummy still has is soon to be wife. It's what did you think of that, Zontarr?
John Bannon runs in, and it usually gets defeated in a second. I felt bad for him. He runs in and tries to destroy it.
Like, I want to talk about the strength of this mummy. Like the previous movie, he's his drug of choice is the Tana leaves. Kharis really likes that stuff. Keeps him alive, keeps him going well. We wondered what would in the Discord, what would you do if you gave Kharis 50 Tana leaves? But the strength of Kharis in this movie is unbelievable. Like, he's literally putting John Bannon down with a couple of like slaps to the neck, and he's immobilizing him straight away. So while all the scuffling is going on, the house is getting set on fire. A quite intense scene. I really enjoyed this. This one brought me back to like the Frankenstein, as you were saying, Bryan, like the mob going after the monster and all this type of stuff. Like, I enjoyed this ending a lot more than the previous one. I felt like the last one just kind of wrapped up quite quickly, and we didn't really get to see what happened with the mummy. I'll be interested to see what the next movie does, because this is the second time now Kharis has had to been light ablaze. So, Chris, what did you think about the ending of this movie?
Well, first, let me agree with what you're saying. And to go back to a week ago, well, what I said, I didn't have an issue with it. I thought it was functional for the wrap up. And again, considering that their target was having a shorter runtime. But as I'm sitting here today, listening to you today, yeah, that makes sense that they shouldn't have repeated the exact ending from the second one, and so it put this movie was a bit darker, a bit heavier tone. So then the end was consistent with the beginning and the middle. That it was a bit more. The stakes were raised.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Just when you get to the ending for the next one,
it just gets crazier, Bryan, does it?
Oh, you're gonna have opinions. If you thought This one was dark. You're gonna be amazed at the ending of the next one.
Are the rest of them?
Footage is,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zontarr.
well, that mom footage, I didn't even catch it, but some of that mom footage is recycled from. It said Frankenstein and maybe Ghost or Sign, like your mom footage. There's a couple different footage of the moms running. It's all stock footage from previous Frankenstein.
Yeah, in the Universal Studios Monsters book I have, it actually said that there was some footage, stock footage lifted from Frankenstein, mob footage.
And I also read a lot of the music in this one was from The Invisible Woman as well. So a lot of recycled scenes, music. This must have been extremely low budget movie because I couldn't find how much the budget was online. That usually indicates it was extremely low. I'm pretty sure they filmed everything in a couple of weeks. If I remembered reading correctly, I think they shot everything in June, and the movie was out by the end of the year. That's what Universal was kind of great. Like obviously Hammer took over the torch with this kind of stuff. But they were like a workhouse just spinning out the movies. You have to really appreciate. I'm sure a lot of the sets that was used in this movie was also recycled from other movies. Surely that cemetery probably in a lot of the other Universal monster movies. Well, what I wanted to ask though, are the other movies, the other mummy movies, are they all set outside of Egypt, or do we go back to Egypt for a movie?
Not until Abbott and Costello meet the mummy, in which case it's a completely different mummy. They're all in America still, but for some reason the fourth film switches from the setting from Massachusetts to Louisiana.
Interesting. Yeah, so really it was only the mummy's tomb after the Karloff one. The mummy's hand, I keep getting them mixed up. The mummy's hand was the only really one set in Egypt after the Karloff one. That's quite interesting. Oh yeah, that's quite interesting, man. I want to talk a little bit about Lon Chaney now. Obviously, as we said earlier, he was fresh off coming off Wolfman. Quite the big star in the 1940s. Now, I don't know if it was this movie. I did mention it a little bit last episode that, obviously, a lot of people know that Lon Chaney was fond of the drink. There was a rumor. See, it's hard to believe what you read online about stuff that happened so long ago because a lot of the stuff could be hearsay. I did read that Lon Chaney was drinking on the set, wearing the mummy suit, and had a straw going in from one end of the suit to the other. And I heard he was quite hard to work with on the set. I don't know how true that is, if anyone knows.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned in one documentary or another. I can't remember if it was Our Mummy Dearest or Mummy's episode of 100 Years of Horror, but yeah, I've actually heard it legitimately spoken, not read in a book or online, but not sure if it was rumor or if it was just something that was actually put on record.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it. Obviously, Lon Chaney is the son. Lon Chaney Jr. is the son of the original Lon Chaney from the Silent era. We all know about him. I know a little bit about Jr. Had a bit of a tough upbringing, different problems with substance and all this type of stuff. But he was a great actor. Obviously, best known for playing Larry Talbot in The Wolfman. I think he was born to play a role like that. Anytime I hear the term, the words The Wolfman or werewolf, I always think of him in that first movie, full of charisma. So it was different to see him in something like this, and then especially leaning more into the 50s. He was kind of playing secondary characters, but he still had that kind of presence to him. Sure, only a couple of weeks ago I watched the movie. I'm not sure if anyone here has seen it, The Alligator People. Has anyone seen that here?
I've never seen it.
It's
method acting.
You haven't seen it, Zontarr?
I'm saying it's method acting playing an alcoholic. It's terrible to say. He's playing a jerk, alcoholic jerk. And there's him and Roderick Crawford drinking buddies in those studio lots. And apparently they got known as the monsters. They were just drunk in studio lots.
It'll be interesting to see what follows on from this movie. I don't know where you guys watch this, but I watched this on Internet Archive myself. I don't own this one on physical media. This one breezes by just an hour. I think the rest of the Mummy movies are an hour bang on. you kind of have that serial kind of feel to it. Like Bryan, you were saying in the last episode, the Mummy's Hand kind of gave you like a comic book kind of feel. I even feel this is even more so in this one. I think it moves at a really, really nice pace. That's what was good about the 40s Universal movies compared to what you were doing in the 30s. I think they were going at a lot quicker paced, which was nice to see. So a lot of the movies were only kind of like an hour long, especially a lot of the Mummy movies. Well, I wanted to ask, where would this be better than the Mummy's Hand, or would you prefer the previous movie that we talked about?
I think I might like them both equally. I like how this one's a bit darker, but I think I might like the ending to the next one better, The Mummy's Ghost. I think I like the ending to that one better because, just for how unexpected it was.
I'm going to check that one out. Before I ask you, Chris, Zontarr put a picture up in the Discord that I'm actually going to put up right now. Just let me timestamp that. It's a picture of two humanoid-looking heads from two different movies. Zontarr said from the mid-50s, I think you said, Zontarr. So I want to see if anyone knows that's watching on YouTube, because I still haven't figured it out, man. And I don't want you to tell anyone.
Zontarr he stumped me on that one. I was thinking and reflecting, but I felt like like I was a younger player trying to be on an older team. Like I was outclassed. My depth of knowledge did not go deep enough. So Zontarr's got some serious stuff going on with his knowledge and his humor.
I thought Bryan had that in the bag.
Should we give the answers in chat?
So I'm gonna. It's had to been up now the last couple of seconds. So if you do know, I'm actually gonna put it up on the Instagram as well, because it's actually fucking with my head now. I was thinking maybe This Island Earth or something like that for the left one, but that right one, man, is really fucking me up. It almost looks like it's from like an 80s kids like movie that was like too dark or something.
For a moment, I was thinking Forbidden Planet, but I've not seen that film, so I don't want to make that guess.
I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, Forbidden Planet is a great movie. Yeah. So if anyone knows, drop a comment, because it's fucking me up. Chris, what movie would you prefer between Mummy's Tomb and The Mummy's Hand?
Well, again, I'm not trying to sit on the fence, but I am going to be on the fence here. I think it depends on mood. Like, sometimes you want to hear a song, and then, later on in the day or the next day, you just don't have interest in that song. So what I'm saying is, if I'm looking for lighter fare, then the Tom Tyler one is a good fit for what I'm looking for. And if I'm looking for more serious, now, and it's a little, for me, what allows how I'm going to justify sitting on the fence is that, if this, I don't know the exact runtime, but let's say it's roughly 60 minutes. So 1/6 of this movie is the other movie, is the previous movie.
Yep.
So definitely there's some significant overlap between them. And again, both of them are a completely different construct, a completely different expression than the first one, the Karloff one. So, I mean, this is definitely enjoyable B movie.
This is a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover, because originally I thought after the Karloff movie, they were all kind of the same schlocky kind of B movie type movies. They are, in a way they are, but there is a huge difference between this one and the previous one that we just reviewed, The Mummy's Hand. Obviously, the setting is different. How they killed off the characters, the body count is a lot more in this one. Yeah, as you said, Chris, you can enjoy them in different ways. I just think for myself personally, I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher than the last one. But Zontarr, what do you think, man? Do you have a preferred movie between the two?
I prefer the first one. The first. I think this one suffers from, it's only an hour long. There's 15 minutes of it. I was like, gosh, a lot of stock footage, and I prefer the first one way than the film. And like Baby's character better than the first one was. He was a side character. This one he was so wide. So yeah, but I mean, I enjoyed this one as well. I will go with this one as a better rating. But I prefer it first.
The characters were better in the previous movie. I just think the stakes were quite high in this one. It was quite exciting. made me excited to finish the rest of them now. I have to admit, like these mummy movies are kind of taking me by surprise. Quite naive of me personally, because I've obviously seen the first wave of Universal monster movies from the 30s going into the 40s. I just haven't seen a lot of the sequels. I put it into the Discord. I'm currently watching the 6 Invisible Man movies, and I'm trying to get my hands on that Mummy collection as well, because see where you guys are in America and Canada, you can get the Universal box set and it has all the movies in one box set. I tried to get my hands on that for so long in my region. I don't think my Xbox is a region free Blu-ray player. But what I have to do over here, I have to buy them franchises, well, more so them monster series individually. So I have to buy the Frankenstein one, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, the Dracula. I have to buy them all separately, where the American region has them all in the one fucking nice box set, which would have been nice to get. But so I'm slowly learning and coming up, getting up to date with the sequel Universal monster movies, and honestly, they're taking me by surprise. This movie was great. But is the next one called The Mummy's Spleen?
No, The Mummy's Curse. I mean, Mummy's Ghost. Mummy's Curse is the last one of the Kharis series. So yeah, Mummy's Ghost will be next time.
So there's only two Mummy movies left, and then we have the Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we're getting through them.
Right,
Yeah,
I always forget if Mummy's Spleen comes before or after Abbott and Costello, but they have yet to earn their way to the Mummy's Spleen.
Or what about that Turkish one that you were talking about last episode, Bryan?
The Turkish Dracula, you mean?
Oh yeah.
The Mexican mummy, the Aztec mummy, I think that was 1957. So that comes between Abbott and Costello meet the Mummy, but it comes after Abbott and Costello meet the Mummy, but before the Hammer film, the first Hammer film.
Definitely need to get that one done as well, man. I'm assuming
like
that's
the
on
Aztec Mummy or the Hammer film.
Well, I think we should do the Aztec Mummy before the Hammer movie.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's probably did, as far as these mummy movies go, it's an unofficial remake that did a non-Egyptian mummy before Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So it basically beat Universal to the punch by 51 years.
Is it better than the Tom Cruise?
It's got a good plane crash. Love the plane crash in the Tom Cruise movie. Otherwise,
We'll save that for when we get to it, but I'm going to say high probability of yes.
That's because there's no Tom Cruise in it.
Well, of course, Tom Cruise and his ego just made it so his character had more screen time than the titular mummy.
Man, to be honest, I get the Tom Cruise hate. I've recently just finished them last 2 Mission Impossible movies. I don't know if any of you guys are even interested in them. Usually I'm not now. The last thing I like is like them brainless action movies. Like the modern kind of brainless action movies. A lot of them star Tom Cruise, unfortunately. Have any of you seen the last 2 Mission Impossible movies? They were fucking excellent.
I've never seen a Mission Impossible movie, but I did recently... most recent movie that I recently got was Ghost Cat Anzu, which is a French-Japanese animated film, so completely different.
Yeah, I need to widen my taste in movies, man. All I've been watching is like old school classic horror lately, and then a little bit of Dragon Ball Z sprinkled in as well on top of that. So yeah, we're at the part of the show now where I'm going to ask the panel now what did he overall like about the movie, what he didn't like, and just like leave me with a final score out of 5. Starting off with you, Bryan. What would your rating be out of 5?
Probably a 4. Like how it's darker, like how it is the mummy film that brought the mummy out of Egypt, because as I said, there were literary predecessors which were not set in Egypt. which allowed later versions to go ahead and do the same.
So 4 out of 5.
I don't think I cared for Steve's sister.
Yeah, she was kind of just thrown in there, I suppose, wasn't she? Like, as soon as you got to know her, she got killed off.
Yeah, like she was supposed to be a substitute for Marta. Because, I don't know, Peggy Moran wouldn't come back, so they needed to count some old woman, so went with her, I suppose.
Yeah, a woman did have to die, I suppose. Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate that we didn't get Peggy Moran back as Martha. She was excellent in that previous movie. I would have liked to see a bit more of her. And I suppose we did, like, we as we said earlier on, we're assuming that she is dead in the movie. That's what I'm kind of saying. Like, me one little gripe about the movie, just how different the characters are. I know it's 30 years in the future. I know people change, but fuck me, they're different characters. Chris, give me a rating out of 5, man. And what did you think about the movie?
I'll go 3.5. And here's what was interesting. Like, you watch it again, and a different question pops into your head. So as we were saying, Chaney, as I'm sitting here thinking how Chaney didn't care for the makeup process through Jack Pierce, but now Chaney's not the only character in the movie. So here's my new nuanced question: is did Pierce do everybody's makeup and wig stuff, or did that get relegated out to the assistants in his department? So that was a new question that I never had before. So I don't know if that question can even be answered, but that I just like kicking around new stuff that I didn't realize or explore before in the movie. So I'm going 3.5, but again, quite enjoyable.
I think Jack Pierce definitely did the makeup in this one. Pretty sure. Do you know, Bryan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Jack Pierce.
Right, but while Pierce is working on Chaney's mummy, like, what about all the other characters? Was that just the other assistants in the department, or like how did the other duties
not
get
sure.
pushed
Was probably just other people.
Yeah, I could imagine it. I could imagine so. Yeah, especially how quick they were wrapping up filming this movie. I think it was shot and done within like 2 or 3 weeks. Zontarr, man, give me a rating out of 5. And what did you think about the movie?
I'll go 3 to 5. I said my complaints, the stock footage. I miss the woman character from the first one. Moran's character was a great character, and the changes it made. But I still enjoy it overall. It's always good to see the mob. So yeah, I'll go 3 to 5. One character I saw return was the dog. Sort of in the first one, several times there's a jackal howling in the distance. In this one, when they're in the cemetery, very quickly there's a shot of a wolf howl. So, the dog returned.
That's actually, I must have missed that, man. I actually didn't even notice that.
Yeah, and when they're in the cemetery, it was like a real quick flash. In fact, it might even be the same shot of a dog on a hill howling. I think the jackal came over on the ship as well. A new dog. Like, we have to have a dog howl.
The dog is the only surviving character. Actually, I do have a question, like a genuine question that I didn't understand. The High Priest die at the start of this movie. That was in the previous one. Does he die? I was unsure about that because I'm not sure if he's in now, like the other movies. What was his?
Yeah, he does die, but he shows up again at the beginning of the next movie, and he dies again.
I wonder, does the next movie ignore this movie, and is it a sequel off The Mummy's Hand then, or is it?
No, it still carries on, but it's just that one of those weird continuity things. Like, oh no, they killed off Washford in The Four Musketeers, but he's supposed to die in 20 years after. So what do you do when you adapt that story into the Return of the Musketeers? Somehow just bring back Washford, so Christopher Lee can die again.
Oh, Indo Heb basically is just as bulletproof as fucking Kharis, man. When you think about it, what a devious fucking devil.
And fall down those stairs too.
I was looking at him thinking, like, he looks like Indo Heb in this movie looks identical to the High Priest that died in The Mummy's Hand. And they're doing the same. They have the same mannerism. They were shaking and all this type of stuff. I know that's like the 1940s way of showing old age, maybe. Well, yeah, it's quite interesting. It's interesting to hear that he's actually, spoiler alert, if nobody hasn't seen these movies that are almost 90 years old, almost 100 years old, he still survives. But my rating out of 5 for this one, I think I gave the last one 4.5. I'm going to edge this one to a 4.75, purely because I really enjoyed the twist that it wasn't set in Egypt. I actually really enjoyed that. Coming fresh off that last one, that was nice. I actually really enjoyed. Kind of reminded me of watching like them other ones. Like, I don't know if anyone here has seen Son of Dracula, starring Lon Chaney.
I've not seen that one.
Lon Chaney plays the son of Dracula. Alucard, I'm pretty sure his name is. Yeah, it just gave off them kind of vibes. I really enjoyed the kills in this one. How the kills were amped up a little bit more when they gave that kind of pre-70s, 80s slasher vibe, which would be quite cool if it was movies like this that it did inspire from. But yeah, no, I'd give it a 4.75. I think so far of the Kharis ones, this is my favorite. Hopefully the other ones will be just as good. Still don't think Atlas touching the Boris Karloff one. That is still my number one. So if I had to rank them, I'd go Boris Karloff, this one, and then the previous one, which was The Mummy's Hand. I'm gonna go through the panel right now. We're gonna wrap up things here, guys. Chris, where can we find your stuff, man?
Mostly on I've been over here more than I've been on my own YouTube channel lately, but that's all good and fun. But Mr. C dives in on YouTube. I plan to have some Dracula. I got a decent sized Dracula collectibles collection that I want to get showing soon, given that it's going to be the 95th anniversary of Dracula premiering in the movie house. And then I'll have some other goofy stuff going around too. And I hang out in Reddit, which is how I got myself connected to get the invite to be here. And I'm definitely happy to be here.
Reddit is a great place, man. We've pretty much everyone we met here through Reddit. The classic horror fans subreddit. So shout out to them over there. That's the best subreddit on the website, in my personal opinion. Yeah, make sure you go out and check Chris. I'm going to leave his links in the description. He live streams a lot over there. Great guests, great shows, fucking great stuff, Chris. Honest to God. Make sure you go over and subscribe to him. Bryan, where can we find your stuff, man?
You can find me on YouTube. I game, I do readings. I'm doing watch-alongs for the English dub of Ghost Stories. This morning I continued with my Let's Play of Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. Appropriately enough, the boss I fought was Egyptian themed, the Titan sarcophagus. Currently reading the travels of Marco Polo. How long is that going to take? I'm presuming it could take well until summer for me to get through that, but I'll get there when I get there. But I'm also very early into it, not even at 1/3 of the way in, so it's definitely going to be come the travels of Brian Croy Dragon by the end of it. The literary travels. And
Bryan, like you're a VTuber, man. I'm not really too much in the know about what VTubers are. So obviously, what is it? You create an avatar of yourself to put in the videos.
virtual YouTuber. Took me a while to get any lore going on, but I'm an ambiguously human bookstore wizard. Just over 2,000 years old. 2003 to be precise. Be 2004 in September. So yeah, I've seen. You know what? Throw in some lore. I saw these movies in the theater back in the 30s and 40s.
So how old are you going to be in September?
2004.
Sweet, man.
I'm older than the crucifixion.
Well, you look good, man, for 2,000 years old.
Thank you.
Well, that's Bryan. That's our encyclopedia on the show. If you don't know by now, Bryan knows a lot. Make sure you go and check his YouTube channel. Fucking wide range of content over there. And I might actually leave a link to your Instagram if you don't mind, Bryan, as well, because you post a lot of interesting books.
No, go ahead. I'm currently reading Animation Nation by Michael Hirsch. It's basically the story of Nelvana, Canada's premier animation studio.
Sounds fucking good, man. Did you finish that Mummy book?
I haven't actually started yet. I've been reading a lot of. I've been watching a lot of Heritage Minutes, so I got a collection, a trade paperback collection covering the early Superman comics. Joe Shuster, one of Superman's co-creators, was Canadian. He was actually born in Toronto.
You must live in a mansion, yeah, Bryan, to fit all these books in.
Oh, I wish.
You must have a personal library or something at home to fit these books.
Sort of have a library going on.
I say the whole room is just covered in books. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, check out Bryan's Instagram. Tons of books there, and really, 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 really good ones, really interesting ones. Zontarr, have you got yourself onto YouTube or anything yet? Instagram?
Yeah. I don't have any stuff in it. Just I'm on Reddit pretty often and Facebook.
Yeah, I'm seeing the name Zontarr around a lot in the movie subreddits, actually. So yeah, so if you'd see Zontarr, make sure you give him a shout out, and that you've heard from him from here, obviously. Before we go off though, guys, I just want to talk a little bit shit about the Discord. So we are recording this straight from the Discord. There's a link to it in the description. It's 18 plus. I'm not sure if any of you guys were here from the very start, but somebody ended up getting in that was like 17, and I had to give them the boot. This is strictly over 18s Discord, so it's a good place for like classic horror fans to come and share what they're watching, physical media, to give movie recommendations. I want to set up like movie nights where we can stream movies and watch them together, or maybe even do like some commentaries and record while we're watching the movie, like little fun stuff like that once I get more people in. So yeah, make sure you join the Discord, obviously if you're over 18, which you should be if you're watching this channel. Yeah, it's a fun place, and it's only going to get better. You can come out and you can come in and hang out with like Bryan, Chris, whoever's here at the time, Zontarr, myself. So make sure you check that out down below. And I just want to say thank you to Bryan, Chris, and Zontarr for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Always good to have. Like, this was the squad that we had here last week. So like, if you haven't seen last week's episode, as I said at the beginning of this episode, we're reviewing all the Mummy movies leading up to the one that's coming out in April. So very exciting stuff. We might dig into the Hammer movies once we finish these, who knows. But yeah, if you made it this far, people, make sure you give the video a like, comment, subscribe if you are on YouTube. If you're over on Spotify, make sure you rate the show. Give it a 5-star rating for me, and I'll be really happy. That keeps the wheel turning over here. And yeah, thanks for the panel, and we'll see you on the next one.
I am Dracula.
Just a quick little side note as well. The Graveyard Club now has merch, so I'm gonna leave a link in the description if people want to go over and check that out. Maybe grab a T-shirt. You'll be really helping out the show. Yeah. So it's a public website. We have 2 designs out right now. I'm going to do a giveaway of a few T-shirts very soon on the podcast, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And yeah, thanks for the panel, and thanks for the listeners watching. See you on the next one.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Quad Pro Quo. Right now, you are probably thinking to yourself, oh great, another movie podcast. Well, dear listener, you would be right. But throw in a couple of marriages, decades-long friendships, and a shared property line, and you have just another movie podcast with a shitload of drama. Inspired by the iconic quid pro quo scene in Silence of the Lambs, Each week, one of us will pick a movie. It could be a childhood favorite, a classic film noir, an Academy Award winner, or a complete dumpster fire that brings joy to that person's heart. The selector's objective? To get us to love, or at the very least, not hate their pick. Will our marriages, our friendships, and our neighborhood survive? Find out each Thursday on Quad Pro Quo.